Well, good morning. Welcome to the second edition of Coffee and Craft. It is a gorgeous snowy day out there. There is a snowstorm that has abated, and everything is pink and fluffy. It's not pink and fluffy out there. It is white and fluffy. The cat in the hat has not been. As you can witness, I am in need of some brown alcoholic beverage. Oh my goodness, this is going great. This is going great, guys. I'm going to have a coffee, and I'm going to attempt to speak in another moment. Here for your entertainment. Yes. Alright, take two. So, it is snowing outside. It is beautiful out there. Everything is covered in white, not pink. Hi guys, thanks for tuning in. Nice and early. So I think next time I plan to do a live stream, I will check if daylight savings is going to happen first, because I lost an hour's sleep last night on account of it, like everyone. Today what I'll be working on is a beautiful hood that I have found in pieces. This is behind me on my mannequin. This is it's the top of a coat, like a woman's woolen coat. The whole coat itself looks like it's something that you would wear to the opera, or some fancy person would, I don't know, go shopping in Manhattan or something. I don't know. The top of the hood part attached to the coat with some buttons around the coat, so it actually just slipped right off when I bought it. There's attachment points on the underside. It's very clever design, really. So what I want to do is I want to put it together so that it's permanently fixed, and it's going to be, well, that's what happens when you're curious, cat. Anyway, so what I want to do is put this hood part together permanently, because the way that it was attached before was just by buttons. So I want to permanently affix the top to the underside. I also want to put this liner in, which is another hood that I also picked up. This one has the fur on the inside. I think it's beaver. The whole interior of the hood is fur lined, so it just makes a beautiful interior to the woolen top part. And then the third part that I want to do is attach these to the interior of the fur, so that it becomes like a clasp. Now I did a mock-up with it, which was the photo that I shared the other day, so you could get a sense of how the final thing would look, but all of those pieces were just free-sitting, so they're not actually attached. Interestingly, even though this is a costume crafting show, I don't plan to do any sewing. All the stuff I'm going to be doing is going to be using materials that are rigid. So I'll be using pliers, scissors, clamps, and glues. And that's quite enough for one day. This is in part because I actually have no idea where my needles are. I have a terrible suspicion that my needles are actually lost, that I lost them in the move. But that's okay, because what I want to do is not actually a sewing task. So, it's more of an assembly. And since he needs to be involved, hey buddy, come here. Alright, there, you got what you wanted? Good morning, Internet. I'm going to give you a minute of Dellery whilst I have some celery. Celery! Oh my goodness! Okay, I'm fine. I'm not having celery. Hey, bud. I need you to behave, okay? Come here, child. This is not, in fact, the worst state that I've been in when I've done a podcast. I think live stream. I think the worst one was when I went out drinking scotch all night until 6 a.m. and I was still drunk at 3 p.m. the next day. Yeah. And that was the day that I'd scheduled a live stream for 12:30 that day. So I was in a bad way. But it was a great live stream. We all had fun, if I remember. Or maybe I had fun. Anyway, I'll show you guys the pieces. So this is the exterior hood. This is very stylized. The way that it's cut, like it's really lovely. There's a distinct shaping to the bottom. This is not ideal for a hood normally because for a medieval hood. This is not ideal for a medieval hood. It's a very fitted design. So the hood that I want to go inside this is actually larger, which is this one. This is beautiful. This is weatherproof exterior. It's obviously modern material. So I want to have that inside this. And obviously the first problem I face is that there's quite a gap there. So what I plan to do is have it kind of rucked, so when it's sitting, it'll be like coiled up like this, because you won't actually see inside the hood that far, and then that'll give it the shortness that it needs to match the bottom. Otherwise, it would just pull right out. And that kind of bend in it is actually quite good for when it's sitting like that. And because I plan to wear this hood mostly open, I don't think I'm going to be dressed up like Jon Snow for 90% of the time when I'm wearing it. So this is actually a really lovely way to sit, because it also shows off the fur on the inside. It is real fur. There's beaver along the edge, and I don't know what this fur is, but it's very, very soft. So, the way that this interior hood attached to its jacket was there's a series of clips here, and they kind of clip open, and they're attached on the inside of the hood. They're quite in there. I could, if I popped this open and used an unpicker or something, I could get in there and take them out. But I did mention that I don't want to be doing any sewing. Not only because I've lost my needles, but also because I'm pretty short on time. I've got a triple deadline coming up in the next 2 weeks that I am working towards. So basically, any cheats that I can use to make this costume, anything that will help me kind of put it together in a finished form that doesn't require a whole lot of stitching would be awesome, and that's what I'm planning to do. So that is the first thing. The second thing is this hood, which I'm going to leave it up there. There's attachments to the original jacket. Oh, bells. Yeah, the bells are going outside. There's churches everywhere around here, and on Sunday they let you know that they're there. So there's attachment points here and here and here, and this is what would pin it to the original jacket through a button. That's what I'm planning to use. Words. That's what I'm planning to use as the main anchor point. So I'm going to thread this hood with a lace. Now, it's not going to be something that's going to stay that way. After my triple deadline is over, I'm going to go back and I'm going to do some more reinforcement. But at the moment, it'll do. So I want to make that sort of semi-permanently attached, so I'm not just kind of holding it together with pins or something. So so hot, so good. Cool. First things first, let's clear the pit area. Delary is sulking. This is an awesome mannequin that I was gifted by my friend Bill from Syracuse, who is a theatrical wonder, and basically has a museum that he's gathered around himself in his many, many years of medieval activities. He brought it for me as a gift last Grand Bataille for Bicolline. As you can see, it's perfect for holding my armour and also costuming, which is really great because I had a female-shaped mannequin that I'd also picked up. I think I got it for free, which my housemate uses for her costume. So in our hallway we have 2 mannequins set up in a full like LARP regalia. It's pretty great. It's like sets a precedent when you come into the house. Cool. So this is going to be a super simple job. All I'm doing is lacing. And I've taken off my glasses because I really don't enjoy wearing them. But they're going back on because I need to see. So I'm lining up these holes. Actually, I haven't looked at the comments. Hey everyone. Oh, there's quite a few of you. Hey guys. Goodness, look at this commitment. Love it. Where'd the lace go? Aha. Alright, so I have not thought how I'm going to do this in terms of where the lace is going to thread. So I'm just going to run you guys through my thought process. As I mentioned, I want the hood to look good open, so I'm going to, I'm going to lace it so that it's sitting open. See how it's laying back like that, instead of that way. I don't know if you can see the difference there, but it just, one way looks better open, one way looks better closed. So, good morning, thank you for joining, everybody. I'm in my pajamas. Y'all know what you signed up for. I hope you did. Pink snow and celery. That is a reference to the things I have already said inaccurately. Gosh, it's gorgeous. Heavy snow. Alrighty, so I am going to attach the top hood to the outside as it was originally meant to. I'm pretty sure that's how it was when I got it. I didn't actually look before I disassembled it because I was far too excited about the pattern. I just want to show off this beautiful pattern. Look at that. Yes, I do still have that leather chest armor, Mary. I don't wear it anymore. It is quite old. It's beautiful, absolutely beautiful, but it got like probably about 7 years of constant use. Interesting thing, I didn't realize that I was using it as a binder. So I would use it all the time, and I mean all the time. Like I would wear it under things, because I was subconsciously trying to bind because I was so dysphoric about my chest. And it worked wonderfully as a binder because the older it got, the more and more flat it got. And obviously with the straps on the back, I would tighten it up. So yeah, interesting realization. it was also really beautiful. But the protective aspect of it kind of stopped being protective after not long, because leather gets less malleable. So it originally was quite a rigid piece, but yeah, with use, body movement and oils and warmth and everything, it kind of broke down the leather. It's still in good condition. I stopped using it before it got destroyed. It now kind of just lives in, you know, a safe storage space, and I bring it out to kind of fawn over it for a while. Yeah, it's a really lovely piece. Alright, so I'm going to go in from the inside so that the end comes out underneath. And when I go back to do the permanent reattachment, like after all my deadlines are over, I will put in I'll put in more holes along here. I'll put two more spacing, because at the moment there's only 3 points, which is, it's enough. Like the jacket was designed that way, so it's meant to. That's going to be a problem. Oh no, it won't be a problem because it'll be underneath the fur. Okay. No, that is my cereal. Go away. Okay, this is going to be more. I'm just going to have to fudge it. Okay, the problem that I'm facing is that because there's only 3 points, I don't get a symmetrical weave when I'm threading. But it's going to be hidden. It'll just annoy me. And I can fix that later on. Just for now, I need it to be a thing that exists and doesn't take 10 hours. Oh, I could double it. Okay, the lace is good enough. Yeah, I could do that. Okay, no. It's gonna be ugly. Okay. If I double it, then I get the symmetry that I want. I don't know if you guys can see what's going on. Let's move these comments. Oh, the chest plate? No, it's actually made by a local armourer in Quebec. It is. I've linked him in my any armourer photos of this in my Instagram feed. I've linked the armourer's Instagram. I don't think he's active on Instagram. His name's Mark. He does beautiful work, and it's sold as a local product through Dracolit, which is one of the medieval shops. One of the medieval shops, he said proudly, because we have more than one. Because Montreal is awesome. So no, it's not Arm Street. It is a local armourer. It is made by local people. Okay, so I'm going to have a whole lot of extra lace. I don't want to cut this lace. I only have one of them, and it's kind of perfect for this. The colour and everything is perfect. And when I do go back and put in those extra holes, I need more length because I'll be doing more weaving, basically. So I'm going to just wrap it around a few times. I'm going to speed it up a bit because I've been yakking away, as tends to happen. It's probably appropriate for a live stream that I'm talking a lot. Oh my god, I was watching a YouTube video the other day on how to make a wet palette, because I'm learning how to paint, right? I'm learning how to do minis and magic. What is a wet palette, you ask? A wet palette is, well, I didn't know either. It's where you have basically a sponge underneath your palette that keeps water soaking through when you put your paint down. And it keeps your paint not dry. It keeps your paint wet for longer. So it doesn't dry up in between doing doing tiny detail, because you're only using a little bit of paint at a time, right? So it dries because it's paint. So a wet palette keeps it wet longer. Simple concept. I watched a 13-minute video of this guy explaining how to make a wet palette out of a Tupperware container and some tissues. And some what was it? Parchment paper, like the type that you buy. 13 minutes! It does not take that long to show you how to make a Tupperware container, some paper. Okay, I'm ranting. I was like, what is going... Why am I wasting my life watching this? Oh my god. Yeah. Some people just talk too much. And I didn't skip forward because I genuinely want to learn what I can, because it's a whole process that I don't know about. I'm learning to paint. I'm learning to do alters for magic cards. That's what this is all about. All the paint research and the brushes and stuff. So I'm learning everything I can for that. So I'm like watching this 13-minute video, hoping that this man will bestow wisdom upon me. Okay, I'm fine. Okay. Just had to have that small rant. Maybe when I know more, I can feel confident to do a 3-minute video on making a wet palette. And it's got all these views because it's the first thing that comes up in your feed, in your search. Just perpetuates this freaking situation. Okay, that took way too long. What I have done is I've doubled it, right? And I've tucked the end. As I mentioned, I don't want to do any sewing. I have to get this done pretty fast. I don't have a lot of time to spend on it. But when I come back to this in a few weeks' time, I will be putting additional holes there and there, and then I'll be doing a much nicer weave, basically. That's good coffee. Cool. Now that that is in place, let's have a look. I'm not ready for you to send me your magic cards yet, Margot. Maybe one day, maybe in about a year. I don't know. I'm just learning still. Although I'm pretty happy with the first altar I did. It's not quite finished, otherwise I'd show you guys. Yeah, so isn't that nice? That's such a nice hood. Sorry that I'm overexposed right now, but yeah, so it falls to the elbow. It's really lovely. But it sits too open, which is why I want to add these to kind of keep it in place, right? Because when it was originally on the coat, sitting this far open was fine because you had a coat underneath to button it up, right? Excuse me. So yeah, so it looks really lovely, but it's not practical at the moment. So I need that. And these are things I've had kicking around for like 2 years, maybe. It's from a beautiful belt. I'm just going to keep this on. It's from a beautiful belt that I found probably at a thrift store. Most of my finds come from thrift stores. I've disassembled it, but I will lay it out so you can see. How did it originally look? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, there were seven of these. I originally was hoping to use them for my Kingsman, and then I got a lot of Kingsman. So I didn't have enough, but I've kept hold of them. Oh, okay, that's right. I've taken off one end. What have I done? Oh, I know what I've done. Okay. So this originally looked like this chain part was on this end. So this chain came all the way down here, and on this side was this rather unpleasantly modern attachment that finished in some gaudy love heart or something. So obviously I stripped that off because it wasn't what I wanted, and just disassembled the rest of the discs. So then what I did was I came back with pliers, and I just basically made it into what I wanted it to be. I've put two unfinished sections here. This bit I'm doing something else with. It's actually really, really basic. I think it's like from this sort of 70s fashion. It's been cast from something that's much higher quality, but the underside shows that it's pretty cheap. It's still fairly solid because they still use nice metal for fashion stuff. I don't know if it was the 70s because the finish was really gaudy. Maybe it's recent. I don't know. Either way. So the end of this is I've formed it into an open hook. And the idea is that it'll be attached on one side, and then you'll be able to hook it using the chain. So there is an up and down to this. Yeah, so I've made the hook so that it faces on to the back, so you don't actually see it opening. There we go. I'm just reading your comments. And there's little holes. You see the little hole in the rim there? Which is where this is going to go in. Ba-dup. Here's one I prepared earlier. These are already finished. I don't actually have to do anything more to these. And I've got one for my cloak. I've got a beautiful black cloak from CP Cosplayer. He's a friend of mine that has a really great costume Etsy shop. So he does some really nice pieces. He made me a beautiful cloak, long black cloak. So that's what that will finish like. Yeah, I don't know what the alloy is. It could be zinc or tin. It's pretty heavy. Like, yeah, it's not that weak. What's I doing? I was showing you what this is. Okay, now you've seen it. Gonna take this off and put it back up there. It's so warm and beautiful. It's actually wool, like the whole thing is 100% wool. So this is ugly. I don't like this finish at all. But the other hood is going to go over it. And it's going to lay and this is the moment where Sam drops the mannequin on the coffee. It could happen. It'd be very exciting. Yeah, so that's going to tuck right over there and just conceal that join pretty well, which is perfectly adequate for the purpose of the costume. Is that in frame? Yeah, there it is. So that's what it'll look like. The next thing that I need to do is attach these, because I want to put them on the inside of this rather than going to the outside like I showed you just before. They're going to be on the fur, because the fur is what's going to be mostly visible. So this one, how did I have it? This will be sitting up. So these two pieces will be exposed, and what these are is the attachment point from the original original jacket. They're like snaps, I think. I've never seen anything like these before. They came with a little ring, and then the ring clipped onto, presumably on the jacket, there was a thing that clipped onto the rings. I never saw the original jacket. I just bought this as an individual loose piece that was floating around amongst the hats in the thrift store. And I was like, it's fur. So, like I said, I don't want to take these out because that involves unpicking seams and then having to stitch them up again, which in of itself is fine. I don't mind doing that, but my time budget is very limited. So, I'm just going to leave them. So, I will again run you guys through my thought process on this. So soft. This is really practical to have if the hood was just going to stay as it is, but it's not. So I kind of want to take it out because it looks a bit messy having it sitting out the end. So that is the first thing I will do. I'm just making sure that's the right thing to do because I don't want this to just end and have two strings coming down when I'm going to be having this really far superior fastener on it. So I'm going to snip off. It's double knotted. Do I want to save it? Let's see how hard it is. Oh, it's actually pretty loose. If that was too tightly knotted, I would just snip it for speed. But I'm gonna tease it out. There we go. Oh, hi. Hello. Oh, why isn't that feeding? Aha. Alright, it's out. It's never going back. It would be possible to put it back, but it would be a female dog mother. Mothers are usually female. That was tautology. More coffee. Well, at least someone's laughing. I think half the entertainment value of these live streams is the fact that I'm half awake trying to teach. At least I'd like to think so. Alright, so these are going to go. So I considered, when I was planning this last night, I considered stitching before I realised that I was missing my needles. Stitching would be okay to go into the hood. There's a couple of problems. Let's assume that I do actually have the needles that I need, as opposed to one singular lonely needle. The problem with stitching these to the hood is that the hood material is very stiff. So any job that I do, it's stiff and it's tightly woven. So this is a weatherproof fabric. I'd really need like something quite sturdy to go through it, thread and needle. So that's problem one. Problem two is the place I would be attaching it is double thickness because it's the edge and there's fur, so adds to the thickness. Uh, dude, stop it. He's rocking up my plants because I'm not paying attention to him. He does it when he wants attention. He's got his attention, but he's about to get covered in vinegar, so if he keeps it up, then he'll be a sad cat. I don't like doing that. Yeah, you don't either. Dude! No. No, mate. I'm sorry, guys. I'm just going to prevent a little war and go boot him out. My door doesn't actually shut properly, which is why he comes in. Excuse me one moment. You, sir. What are you? Trouble. Come here. Goodbye. My apologies. So the downside to sewing is that the material is very tough. The upshot of that is if I actually took the time to do it and I had the right strength of thread and so on, it would be a very firm attachment. I don't have the time for that, so I'm looking at a second option for how to attach this, which is chemical bond. So there's two types of bonding when you're doing any kind of join or anything. There's mechanical joining, and then there's chemical joining. And so what that just means is glues or anything that kind of binds things together. There's probably a third type. I don't know. I don't know if soldering is its own kind of category. But I'm talking specifically about textiles. So when it comes to textiles, or even wood, if you're trying to join two pieces of wood together, you can use glue, but excuse me, voice breaking. You can use glue, but over time that glue is going to break down. So it's really good to have a secondary form of binding, like a mechanical join, like a screw. So that's why it's when you want something to last, you screw and glue it, because when one fails, the other one supports it. So, and even screws by themselves are not the best thing, because over time the material around the screw is going to wear away. So you'll have a screw, but the tightness will be lost. So the glue fills in that kind of gap. So chemical and mechanical bond. So sewing would be a mechanical bond, because you're physically putting a thing through another thing. But what I'm planning to do is to use a chemical bond. So I want to use 2-part epoxy to join these. I just saw your comments. Is Dellery after the snails? No, he's not after the snails, he's after Sam. Dellery wants Sam to pay attention and play with him. So I just pulled out my glue options. So I have 3 types of glues here that are possible for this kind of task of joining the metal to the other attachment point, which is also, it's metal, but it's got a plastic seal on it to kind of protect it. So 3 ways I could do it. If I was in a super hurry, I would use super glue, which is not ideal at all. It is toxic, it is messy, it is also brittle. But if I had nothing else, in a pinch, super glue would work. It would probably last an hour, but that's actually enough if I was like, I don't know, in a costume situation, about to go on stage or something, and the costume broke. Super glue would work. Not recommended if you want your thing to last. Super glue is highly toxic. Fumes from super glue are very bad for you. However, super glue was originally... fun fact, super glue was originally created for medical purposes, and it was used for basically like patching people up. I think it was in Vietnam that they would have a non-toxic version of super glue which they would use to patch themselves on the field when they weren't, they didn't have the option to go to a medic. So super glue was originally non-toxic. The thing that makes it so bad now is that they've added all kinds of accelerants to make it cure faster, and it's the accelerants that are bad for you. So not recommended, but I actually use super glue sometimes if I've got a cut or something on my hands that I just need to keep using my hands, because yeah, don't quote me on that, that's really naughty, but it's a thing that happens if I'm working, and you know, like, I don't know, a band-aid would get in the way. Again, don't quote me on that, that's not recommended practice. Super glue, option A, not the best thing, but would work in a pinch. Second option, hot glue. This is just your regular dollar store hot glue. This would also work. It's also a little brittle over time, but it's definitely got a longer lifespan in comparison. But I want something that I don't have to do again, so I'm going to use 2-part epoxy resin. So I'm going to be masking up my fur because I have this beautiful, beautiful fur that I don't want to get epoxy resin all over, preferably. So these are two types of masking tapes. This one is higher quality. This one's the cheapo version. It's thinner, it rips easily. It's really frustrating to use, but it has some really good purposes. Like, for example, if I want to just cover something and I don't care about how neat the finish is. So I'm gonna use this instead of my high quality one. I also don't want to be picking fur out of the super glue. It's super glue though. Masking tape. Alright. How do I want to do this? I want to pre-prepare my my tape so that I'm not taking too long on it. So what I'm going to do... I'm looking for something to stick it to in the meantime. Alright, little boat. Little boat's going to hold my tape. See what I mean? It's dreadful. It's like, it's not even torn in one piece. I get this from work. At the beginning of the project, everyone hoards the good masking tape because inevitably at some point through production, the runner will get it wrong when they're restocking. And they'll get the shitty tape. And so all these departments end up with like stockpiles of... look at this, it's dreadful. All the different departments will have stockpiles of the really good quality tape, because no one wants to get stuck with the really bad tape. And then at the end of the show, when they're cleaning out, there's all these like ends of this everywhere because people have been hoarding them, and they get tossed because the production doesn't want to hold on to all the stuff, and it's cheaper for them to just buy it again than to pay storage on something that they may never use again. So I end up scoring a whole bunch of really nice masking tape at the end of every show. Oh my gosh, this is so dreadful. I also definitely make sure I get some of the shitty stuff too, because for purposes like this, it's really good. Oh my god. It's so thin and so bad. So, now that I've got a few bits laid out, is that going to be enough? I'm going to neaten them up, just to make them easier to work with. Ugh. Get thee gone. This could be a drinking game. How many times is Sam going to take off his glasses and put them on again? So I'm going to smooth the fur down so that it's not like, when I stick it, it's not going to be like squished in the wrong way. No, I use a small bit. It's kind of sitting up here, which is problematic. Oh well, I just have to do my best with it. I just don't want it to be, I don't want it to be squished in place and then the fur will sit badly forevermore. I don't like that. The other reason people hate this tape is because it's such weak glue. It just comes off things when you're masking them, which is really bad if you're actually painting, because you don't want your masking tape to come off until you want it to come off. But for a purpose like this, it's really good because I don't want it to be firmly attached to my fur, which it's doing. So there's a couple different types of costume making. There's like traditional soft costume making where it's all like patterns and cutting fabric and sewing. That's called soft costume. And then there's also hard costume, and that covers things like costume props. So if you have, like, for example, I don't know, a belt. A belt would be a rigid piece of costuming. So a person with soft costume skills might not necessarily know how to make a belt. Whereas someone who's more used to like rigid tools and everything would be quite good at that. I love costuming, but I definitely have better hard costume skills than I do soft costume skills. I am quite good at making costume when I need to. I'm just a lot slower than other people with that. But I did as part of my training. As part of my training, I did a costume design course, which involved making one of the exams was making an Elizabethan corset, which I was very pleased with how it turned out. so I do know my way around an industrial sewing machine. And I've made my own garb over the years. I just know that it's not actually my strength, but I know how to do things. I know how to deconstruct things and make patterns and whatnot. Putting these on so I can keep an eye on the time, because I'm sure I've been going for nearly an hour now. That sounds complicated, you say. Yes. Yes, Elizabethan costume. An Elizabethan corset is made with ribbing. So the front of the corset, it's kind of like a V shape a little bit, and it comes down. It's different to a Victorian corset. So the Victorian corsets were flush to the stomach. They would cinch everything together, which is why women were fainting all the time, because they basically were having their diaphragm crushed, so they weren't taking in enough oxygen. So it's a really known thing that women would have to go and retire and have some smelling salts or something to revive them, because they were basically passing out from their underwear being too tightly laced. That's Victorian corsetry. Elizabethan corsetry was far more practical, because the front of the corset would sit proud of the stomach, like a shield almost, like a flat shield, coming down underneath the bosom. Well, it was over the top of the nipple, obviously, but it would come down and sit proud of the stomach, kind of over the front of the hip. And so actually there was a lot of room to breathe in them. They were quite comfortable. I know this because I definitely wore my corset quite a lot after I made it, and it was fabulous. So I got to experience the comfort of that. I would not want to wear a Victorian corset. Those things are horrible. I mean, they look great, that's the point, but not very nice. Not very nice to wear. Alrighty, so I have successfully masked all around. If I'm really worried about my my ability to get the epoxy resin where I want it, then I could put more. I could just put a sheet down actually to cover this. Do I want to do that? Maybe. But the most important thing is that I have access to this point here. So bend back into shape. Aha! So it's exposed the fur at the bottom. Ooh, I'm getting cold. Be right back. I'm just grabbing a warm item of clothing. And since a couple of you expressed interest in the magic card alteration, I will show you my first card that I did yesterday. Focus. Focus. It's not focused, sorry. So this is an altar. I did the flame coming out the edge. It is not finished. It needs more orange, and it's not how I want it to be, but it's coming along. So, yeah. As you guys know, I like to keep a neat working space. Anything I'm not using goes. These are the pieces. Oh, I should do the other one at the same time. Ha! Never mind. Thanks for your patience with me, guys. It's not a sparkling example of my usual work practice. Sam took off his glasses. Drink! It's like Buffy. There's drinking games for Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and one of them is every time that Giles adjusts his glasses. Every time that Willow wears a fluffy sweater. Every time Buffy goes to fight a demon in high heels is another one. Or in season 2, every time Buffy's snogging Angel. Ugh. Okay, some real talk here. Angel versus Spike. What do people think? Because I have opinions about that situation. I have opinions about whether Angel was worth it. And I'm about to tell them. Obviously. So Spike and Angel, both demons, both of them in love with Buffy. I think Angel is horrendous. But I really like David Boreanaz, so... Oh, I have 2 minutes left. Okay, I'm going to make this fast. Basically, every time Angel was with Buffy, he was good. But then he would, like, lose himself and become evil again. And with almost no effort, he would, like, become a horrendous force of nature. Spike actually made an effort. The dude, like, freaking got a soul, even though it caused him, like, eternal torment. He actually made an effort to be a decent, not human being. Like, in my mind, the dude was, like, way more worth it. So, that is my opinion on the situation with Spike and Angel. Alright, so my livestream's going to wrap up. I will return. I will not take a break. I'm going to, like, basically come straight back in. Hopefully you will tell me your opinions on Spike versus Angel, or any questions you have when I post up a follow-up post on this this live stream. So after the break, what I will be doing is doing the gluing of the attachment points for these cloak pins. 30 seconds left. Alright guys, see you soon. Oh no! This is one of those awkward Sam doesn't know how to turn off buttons things.